Good morning and happy Friday. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so happy to be back. Our first live stream back after a week. We got some new hardware. We got some new decorations. It's looking nice in here. Welcome. My name's Mike. This is Mik'd Up. I'm a voiceover actor, and I've invited you to come to work with me. So let's get to work. So this is what we're going to do. This is Friday. Nobody wants to work a long Friday. We're going to be highly productive and try not to get distracted. I always get distracted. But essentially what you're going to find here is you're going to see me record voiceover scripts that I'm getting paid to record. I'm going to edit right in front of you, teach you what I'm doing. You can ask all the questions you want. I try to stop midstream to answer the questions. Sometimes I get carried away and just kind of get lost in the work, but you know what? That happens. We're going to record, we're going to edit, we're going to audio proof, which is where we give it a final listen and cut out anything that needs to go, because as you'll see, as we read, there will be plenty of things to cut out of the final mix. We'll cover how to normalize your audio, but this isn't just for people who want to learn how to do voiceover work. I mean, it's great. Like, I've modeled this channel after what I wish I could have found when I was getting into voiceover. So it's very much aimed for people who want to learn how to do this for a living, to either have it be a side gig or, like me, this is my full-time job. This is what I do. This is what I do. And it's great. And it's a healthy full-time income. And you can do it too. It just takes some time, lots of perseverance, and the willingness to be kind of goofy sometimes, which turns out I excel at that without trying. So without further ado, we're going to switch over and get to the not edit. We're going to stay right here. We're going to pull up a script, and we're going to read. What do we got first? Let's see what I got dialed up. I believe I've got some new stuff today. I had a couple of spots on my roster. By roster, I mean clients. So this one, here we go. The Apalaki Caldera. This is a geography-based deal. I usually don't struggle too much with these type of pronunciations. Let's hope I'm not jinxing myself. Oh my goodness, excuse me. Okay, so I gotta get used to all this, because like I got two computers now with two mouses, and I'm gonna get myself confused. This one goes to this one. Which one has my chat? There it is. Do it, brother. Paul, what's up, my man? Yeah, it was a whole thing, because the laptop that I was using is my spare laptop that Best Buy was nice enough to kind of accidentally on purpose send me for free. But my wife works online as she teaches English as a second language and a first language to people all over the world. And when I was bringing that laptop up here and hooking it up to all my stuff to do my live stream, when I would take it back down to her for her to do her international teaching thing in the morning, a lot of the camera settings and mic settings and stuff would be all screwed up, and obviously that wasn't going to work out. So I just kind of went emergency leap of faith mode and just went on. I used AI to help me determine what exact specs I needed, because I didn't want to pay too much for a computer that I don't need. But I do need it to be good to handle the stream. So I did that. And, bro, I'll tell you, I think this laptop was only, I don't want to say only because it's still a lot of money, but it was like $800. It's called a HP Victus. So it's got a cool name, too. But that's if you want to stream. Like, you don't need near as much of a computer if you just want to do audio. Like, if you want to live stream, yeah, you're going to need a 2-computer setup and all that. But yeah, for just recording voiceover, man, just a nice, simple, pretty basic laptop. All right, here we go. Let me resize these things a little bit and pop on over into read mode. Hit record over here. Got myself all confused with where everything goes. Okay, so you can see all the things. Apparently you can hear all the things. And now I'm going to do my job. Hot beverage is essential. Beneath the calm blue sky of the Pacific, east of the Philippines, something vast is buried beneath the silence. Something vast is buried in silence. The maps show nothing but water, a stretch of ocean east of Luzon that fishermen cross without a second thought. But under those waves lies a scar so enormous it shocked the world when it was discovered. It was one of the Earth's most massive hidden structures, the Philippine Rise. The Philippine Rise. And sitting right on top of that rise is something even more extraordinary, the Apalaki Caldera, a circular depression so wide it could fit entire countries inside it. The discovery of this caldera raised a lot of questions. Most important of which is, can this giant be stirred again? Excuse me. Can this giant be stirred again? Paul says, probably better than my freaking Chromebook. Yeah, it'll be better than your Chromebook. Chromebooks are extremely limited. I actually, if it wasn't so dangerous for me to open that closet, I got my original computer that I started with. It was a little Surface Go. I think it was called a Surface Go, and it was like a touch screen, almost like a little baby. It was back when like laptops were trying to be cool like tablets, so they were getting a bit smaller. And it was terrible, but even that thing did it. So the Chromebook might. I don't even know. I guess it depends on what kind of audio drivers it's got, because you do need to be able to, in order to get you can do it with just a USB mic technically. It's just going to be harder to get that good, robust sound and be able to get loud without peaking it out. You know what I'm saying? And you need an audio interface for that. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, though. But you got to create that headroom so that you can get stupid and not blow out your audio, because you don't want to work with that kind of restriction. I've been there. Tag along and let's answer this question. Tag along and let's answer this question. If you take a look at the ocean floor east of Luzon, you'd see what would look like another planet. What you'd see would look like another planet. The seafloor there rises like an enormous plateau. The Philippine Rise, once known as the Benham Rise. It's not a single mountain, but an entire region of frozen fire. I got to turn that off. Lost my spot. Hate it when that happens. But an entire region of frozen fire. Ancient lava flows piled kilometers thick, like the hardened skin of an undersea world that once burned. More fans. To understand the Apalaki, you have to go back nearly 50 million years to a time when the Earth was busier reshaping itself. The Pacific Ring of Fire, the horseshoe-shaped belt circling the ocean, was already alive with earthquakes and volcanoes. Tectonic plates slid and collided like slow-moving continents of stone. In what would later become the Philippine Sea, an immense pulse of magma surged upward from deep within the mantle. I love this job. Seriously, this is so fun to read this stuff. I watched so much Discovery, documentary stuff growing up, and now to be the guy is just so fun. As the molten As the molten rock poured through cracks in the seafloor, it cooled layer by layer, building an underwater continent of basalt. Over millions of years, those layers grew into the Philippine Rise, an oceanic plateau as large as Iceland. Excuse me. An oceanic plateau as large as Iceland, rising several kilometers above the abyssal plain. But the Earth balances creation with collapse. Beneath the rise, pressure mounted until the magma chamber emptied faster than it could refill. The crust above lost its support and collapsed inward, forming a ring-shaped depression more than 150 kilometers across, roughly the distance from New York City to Philadelphia, or 1.5 times the size of Metro Manila. That collapse became Apalaki, the tag-along word for giant. If you could stand on one rim, you wouldn't see the other side. It's wider than Yellowstone's caldera in the United States. Wider even than Indonesia's Toba, both of which shaped human history with their explosive eruptions. But here, size tells a different story. On land, volcanoes explode because gases trapped in magma. Escape violently. Under the sea, water pressure acts like a colossal lid, keeping those gases dissolved. Instead of detonating, Apalaki's magma flowed outward in glowing rivers across the ocean floor. Apalaki's magma flowed outward in glowing rivers across the ocean floor. Layering the crust in sheets of hardened rock. It was less a destroyer than a builder. A slow-motion architect of the seabed. Eventually, the fires dimmed. The molten core cooled. The molten heart cooled. The chamber solidified, and Apalaki fell silent. The volcano became a fossil, sealed beneath 2 to 3 kilometers of seawater. Modern studies of rock samples from the rise. Modern studies of rock samples from the rise date this activity to, is it Eocene? Modern studies of rock samples from the rise date this activity to the Eocene epoch, tens of millions of years before humans walked the earth. For most of history, it slept unseen. Then, in 2019, Filipino marine scientists and their partners mapped the Philippine Rise using multi-beam sonar and seismic imaging, technologies that send sound waves deep into the ocean and read their echoes. The images revealed a perfect circle, terraces along the rim, and a central uplift, classic fingerprints of a massive caldera collapse. What they found might be the largest known caldera on the planet. The discovery changed more than textbooks. It deepened the Philippines' connection to this hidden frontier. In 2012, the United Nations Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf officially recognized the Philippine Rise as part of the country's extended continental shelf, giving the nation sovereign rights over its seabed resources. Apalaki wasn't just a scientific marvel. It was proof that beneath Philippine waters lay both natural history and national heritage. The revelation also reshaped how scientists think about Earth itself. The Philippine Rise The Philippine Rise is what geologists call a large igneous province, a place where the planet once bled lava on a continental scale. Events like this have rewritten the planet's climate in Events like this have rewritten the planet's climate in chemistry before. The Deccan traps in India coincided with the extinction of the dinosaurs, and the Siberian traps may have triggered the greatest die-off in history. Apalaki shows that such colossal outpourings didn't just happen on land. They happened under the sea, quietly sculpting ocean basins while life evolved above. Yet, its story doesn't end in the deep past. The Philippine Rise still shapes the Philippines today. Its thick volcanic crust affects how earthquakes and tsunamis travel through the region. Knowing its structure helps scientists model how energy moves beneath Luzon, crucial knowledge for a nation sitting atop one of the most complex tectonic intersections on Earth. It also influences life itself. The ridges and slopes of Apalaki create upwellings that feed plankton blooms and attract tuna, whales, and other migratory species. Coral gardens and sponge fields grow along its edges, forming an underwater refuge that sustains local fisheries. That's why the government has declared much of the Philippine Rise a protected food supply exclusive zone, ensuring the ecosystems above the caldera remain intact. And then there's the technological wonder of the discovery itself. For decades, satellites and ships passed over this spot without realizing what lay below. Only with modern sonar, sending sound pulses that map every contour of the seafloor, did the caldera's massive ring appear on the screens of Filipino scientists. It was like uncovering the outline of a sleeping giant. Are we talking about Moana? I feel like it's kind of Moana-ish. I hear kind of the, oh, yeah. Oh, where is my mouse? Is this the wrong one? I knew I was going to do it. I'm using the wrong mouse to try to run the wrong computer. Wait. All right. Sleeping God. Sounds metal. Where was I? I just realized I don't have something on my screen that I wanted to have. Let me see if I can fix that right quick. Oh, excuse me so much. I'm so gross. Why do I have to be this way? It's a dock. I want that dock. What is the dock? Is it this one? That'll work. Good morning, everybody. I see there's some folky folks in here. Brad and Paul and Mike. Let's start a band. Brad and Paul and Mike. Hey, he's a drummer. And he's a guitar player and singer and bass player, right? You do all that, Paul? I think you do. I'll just stand there and wear this shirt. Mm-hmm. All right, we were talking about the outline of a sleeping god. By the way, Brad, any feedback on what you see or hear would be excellent, because this is my, as you know, first rodeo with this new ride. So my screen almost looks like the video might be a little bit ratchety. What do the kids say? Ohio, Skibbity, Ohio, 6-7. But just let me know. As word spread online about the discovery of the Apalaki caldera, so did rumors. Some claimed the world's largest volcano was waking up, but geologists in the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and But geologists and the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology were clear. Apalaki is extinct. No heat flow, no magnum, no seismic unrest. Just ancient rock. Its silence is not the calm before a storm. It's the stillness of something long finished. That's what she said. Yet, the mystery remains. How could such an immense volcano rise, burn, collapse, and vanish without anyone knowing for millions of years? And what other giants lie sleeping beneath the waves? Their stories waiting to be found. The answer comes in the final relief. Apalaki's purpose was never to destroy, but to build. It built the seafloor that underpins the Philippines' eastern edge. It built the ecosystems that thrive today. It built data that now helps scientists predict how the Earth behaves. So when you look at the map of the Philippines, when you look at a map of the Philippines, imagine this. Just beyond Luzon's eastern horizon lies an ancient scar the size of a small country, the resting place of a volcano that shaped the sea itself. It isn't a threat. It's a reminder that Earth's greatest forces don't always shout. Sometimes they whisper from the deep. And their echoes, though silent now, still hold the power to remind us how fragile and extraordinary our planet truly is. And as for that question, what if the giant stirred again? The truth is both comforting and haunting. It won't. But knowing it once did is enough to remind us that the planet we live on is never truly still. It's just between heartbeats. That was fun. I like that. That was a good script. Yeah, boy. All right, I think we're going to do a twofer and roll right into the next one because this was a two-pack that I got. And again, new client day. Hello, new client. Mahmoud, I believe, would be how the name would be pronounced. I'm not very good with names. I apologize to the whole world. Oh, yeah. All right, meter's running. Oh, I got to find the script. Oh, jeez, man. Where'd it go? Yeah, I started this one once, shot him a quick little thingy thing, and he wanted it a little bit more animated, which is cool because I like to act like a fool. This is the strongest tornado ever recorded in Canada, Ellie, Manitoba. On June... Oh, I lost my chat, so if anybody tries to alert me to any of my own idiocy that I'm broadcasting the world, I will be ignorant to these messages. And that's the wrong mouse again. I love it. What a mess. Audio is lagging. Well, let me check something here, sir. Properties. No, not properties. Advanced properties. And it's going to be in the Reaper audio. Excuse me. Moving the almighty Colts blanket and trying to put in a little bit of a thingamadinger here. Okay, we're going to give that a second to catch up. Brad, if you could let me know. Exaggerated mouth movements so you can see if it's synced with the audio. video. So let me know what you think of that. Sorry for all my ridiculousness, everybody. We're just trying to dial in the new equipment, you know. Probably should have done this last night like a responsible adult, but look at my shirt. Do I look like a responsible adult to you? Oh, my goodness, I'm recording all this. I'll have to cut it out in the edit later. June 22nd, 2007 will end with foundation scraped bare, vehicles hurled like toys. Went the wrong way. Corrected the other way. Vehicles hurled like toys in a town stunned by what a small, tight vortex can do when it lingers over the same ground. That tornado will write itself into the record books as the strongest tornado ever documented in Canada. A storm that hides its power in a quiet, deliberate gait. Canada's meteorologists elevate this tornado to F5, the highest mark on the original Fujita damage scale, and the country will add a singular line to its weather history. The ingredients come together. Southern Manitoba wakes to a loaded atmosphere. A low-pressure system slides in from Saskatchewan, pulling warm, humid air northward. A warm front stalls to the north of Ellie. A trailing cold front hangs back near Lake Manitoba. Between them sits a lake breeze boundary that sharpens contrasts at the surface. Aloft, a mid-level jet adds the last critical ingredient: wind shear. Wind shear. So rising air can tilt and spin rather than collapse. Meteorologists would later describe precisely this setup. Moisture from a muggy boundary layer, instability under a cap, lift from converging boundaries, and shear to organize storms into rotating supercells. It's the four-part recipe repeated across tornado country, translated to the Canadian prairies on a hot Friday evening. By late afternoon, storms ignite along the boundaries. Copy that. I'm just going to tickle it with, I was at -400. I'm going to go -5, so we're going to add another 100 milliseconds to the delay. See if that dials it in. Thank you for the precision on this. I like that a lot. Anyways. By late afternoon, storms ignite along the boundaries. Two supercells bloom northwest of Ellie around 5:40 p.m. CDT, with a third to the southwest. Their cores drift slowly, almost lazily, at about 10 to 11 miles per hour, as if in no hurry to be anywhere at all. The pause before consequence deepens. Mouse. An unassuming rope finds ground. Around 6:25 p.m. CTD, a narrow funnel lowers and makes a clean touchdown just north of the Trans-Canada Highway. Its first steps are modest. more a gymnast's ribbon than a freight train. With little rain shrouding it, the tornado is fully visible, twisting in plain sight as it edges across the fields. To many eyes, it looks manageable, even delicate. A veteran storm chaser on scene will later recall the surreal calm that framed those early minutes. Birdsong, mosquitoes, low thunder rolling like a distant drumline. The mood in the town feels oddly still. The storm's demeanor reads harmless in the way a coiled spring reads peaceful. The storm's demeanor reads harmless in the way a coiled spring reads peaceful. Despite its gentle look, the tornado's path is eccentric from the start. It edges southeast, a less common heading for North American tornadoes, then jogs east, south again, then south again, marking loops and sharp turns that will later puzzle surveyors and residents alike. The erratic track stretches the clock and keeps the danger local. Scale can be deceiving. The first hard test arrives as the tornado slides across the Trans-Canada Highway near 6:25 p.m. CDT. Drivers pull to the shoulder and watch a narrow column step over the asphalt. A semi-trailer overturns, the wind's hands invisible but unmistaken. The funnel, seen in profile, is shockingly slim, just about as wide as the two traffic lanes side by side. What it lacks in girth, it carries in the ferocity of tight, rapidly rotating winds. This is the paradox of rope tornadoes. Compact at the edges, devastating at the core. The tornado's forward motion remains slow, and that slowness matters. A leisurely drift means the same patch of ground sits under intense winds for longer. Minutes equate to punishment. Survey teams will later worry that any extraordinary destruction could be the product of prolonged battering rather than truly extreme winds, a debate that will loom over the storm's eventual rating. The mill and the loop. A storm circles back. South of the highway, the tornado meets its first major structure, the town's grain mill. It crosses once, then bends back on its own wake in a slow counterclockwise loop and strikes the mill. Again. The second pass is stronger. Walls buckle inward. Heavy bins crumple. Several semis are blown over or shoved aside. The vortex is now growing into a broader cone, a sign that the storm's inflow and rotation are tightening into a more efficient machine. Damage estimates at the mill alone will reach into seven figures, and yet the broader community is still only brushing the edge of what this tornado can do. Environment Canada will later document the full scope in clinical detail. A time on the ground of about 35 minutes. a path of roughly 5.5 kilometers, and a damaged swath up to 300 meters wide, and a damaged swath up to 300 meters wide at moments. Numbers that speak to both the storm's persistence and its capacity to broaden as it matured. Critically, the official summary also notes no fatalities and no serious injuries, an outcome owed to timing, visibility, and a community that sought shelter as word spread. Wouldn't that be awesome? My goodness, you and everybody around you came out just fine, and you just got to experience this rad-ass tornado that just came and squatted on your village for 35 minutes. Holy moly, that's intense. Pardon my language. All right, let's keep going. Brad, I gave it another little tickle. Hopefully it's dialed in straight and clear now. Hopefully it's the same when we switch over to the other view, too. We haven't gotten there yet. But hello, everybody in here. There's been some people come and go. Good to see you all. I'm Mike. Happy Friday. I'm a voiceover artist. I'm reading for you. I'm actually reading for this client who's going to sign my paycheck later, but I'm reading for you. Is that what I just did? The mill in the loop? Yep, the mill in the loop. Here we go. 4 homes, 4 stories. Near 6:59 p.m. CDT, the tornado shrinks and the danger sharpens. At the southwest edge of Ellie, along a short run of houses, the vortex pauses and loops. In roughly 4 minutes, it destroys 4 homes and damages many more. One house, well built and bolted to its foundations, lifts nearly intact, hangs for a breath, and then explodes into airborne lumber that scatters across a field. Vehicles cartwheel through the air. Steel plates tear. Anchor bolts snap. Bark strips from the trees. The violence is surgical, focused, and brief. When the wind relaxes its fist, the house site is a clean slab surrounded by fragments. Across the street and down the block, neighbors emerge into a faint, dusty light. Pets are gathered. Names are called. It is the particular silence that follows a storm that takes not only walls, but sound itself. From F4 to F5. In the first pass over the damage, Environment Canada's survey teams err on caution. The pattern supports a strong F4. Devastating, but just shy of incredible damage under the original Fujita scale. The team notes at least one location where the destruction looks F5, but the storm's very slow forward speed complicates the call. Slowness can magnify impacts without requiring the most extreme winds. So the preliminary rating remains F4 while investigators search for more evidence. Then comes the video. Shot by a local observer, one of many cameras pointed skyward that evening, it shows a 2-story house lofted almost intact and carried several hundred meters before disintegrating in midair. Seconds later, a heavy van whirls above ground and is later found in a field south of the main damage path. The footage strips away the slow grinding hypothesis and shows structural failures that happen quickly. Exactly what surveyors need to distinguish prolonged battering from truly violent winds. On September 18, 2007, Environment Canada upgrades the Ellie tornado to F5, the country's first officially documented tornado at that level. Estimated peak winds fall in the 420 to 510 km per hour range on the original Fujita wind chart. I don't know what that translates to. Sounds intimidating, though. Aftermath and Legacy. What endures? By nightfall, Ellie has a new map. Streets still intersect. The mill still stands, battered, but on one corner, 4 slabs lie bare under a sky rinsed clean by distant rain. The damage tally will settle nearly 39 million Canadian dollars, a figure that covers insured losses and the cost of piecing lives back together. Cleanup begins the next day, with volunteers and neighbors moving debris by hand, then later by loader, then by truck. For meteorologists, Ellie becomes a case study in how a tornado's appearance can mislead. The tornado looked like a slim rope for much of its life. It moved slowly, sometimes looping, and yet, in a matter of moments, it reached F5 intensity and left textbook-level indicators of peak damage. The event also underscores a statistical truth. Canada ranks second in the world for tornado occurrence, though many go unreported across sparsely populated regions. Even violent tornadoes are rare, roughly 0.1% of all events, but rarity never means impossibility. Eli sits in the northern extension of North America's tornado-prone plains. This is labeled source. Usually on a script, when it's labeled source, there's a bunch of sources cited. This looks more like a paragraph that I'm supposed to read, so I'm going to put it in, but I'm not going to say the subheading. Sometimes you kind of have to figure that out as a voice when you're reading this stuff. Is if you're supposed to read subheadings, some people like it, some people don't. Some things like just feel like they should be read, some don't. This saying source in brackets, I know you don't know what I mean because I'm not showing it to you, but I'm not going to read that, but I'm going to read the section. In the years after 2007, Canada adopts the Enhanced Fujita EF scale for rating tornado damage, harmonizing more closely with U.S. practice while preserving the equivalence at the top end. Brad says, audio sync's almost perfect. Video quality is amazing with the new PC. Awesome. Thank you. And hi to everybody. I see there's more people showing up. I love you guys. I love you. Good night. Wait, I'm not going to bed. Good. So should I adjust the audio just a skosh more in the same direction we were going? Because I can absolutely do that. I'm giving Brad exaggerated mouth audio for syncing purposes. Huh? And it was just kind of fun. In the years after 2007, Canada adopts the Enhanced Fujita EF scale for rating tornado damage, harmonizing more closely with U.S. practice while preserving the equivalence at the top end. An F5 on the old scale translates to an EF5 on the new. Eli remains singular. Canada's only officially rated F5 tornado, standing as both warning and lesson. I didn't delete it. Hello, I don't know how to say your screen name, but that's super awesome that you found me. I don't know what to do with my guitar stuff right now. I'll explain that quandary. I'll explain that whole situation right now. So this channel way back in the day was a gaming channel, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, and I loved it and it was fun, but I got out of it. And I shouldn't have, because I think I would have done well in that niche, because it was very, very early on. As I ramble, I digest. Then it became a guitar channel, and it was super, super fun. But I'll tell you what, and I'll tell you why I stopped doing it. I don't know if you ever listened to Mammoth, Eddie Van Halen's boy, Wolfgang, but it's incredible stuff. And if you go watch his music videos, that's exactly what I want to do with my guitar channel. I just don't have the space and the means, the money to buy the stuff to do, because I play all the things, and I didn't want to just keep sitting there playing guitar. I wanted to do full, whole things. So the guitar thing's not dead, and thank you for stopping in and saying hey about it. And in fact, music is my first passion and love, and voiceover is definitely my day job, but I'm just not ready for that yet. Maybe when my boy grows up and I have more free time to myself that I need to fill with doing other things, I'll get back to that. But at this point in my life, I'm just streaming my work. But thanks for stopping by. Someday, though, don't unsubscribe, because you never know when I'm going to come back. And if I don't come back and do the guitar stuff on here, I'll make the announcement on here so that anybody that's still hanging out from the guitar stuff will know. And it looks like Brad said, sync is close enough for me that I think a second opinion is needed. All right, well, I'll adjust it here in a second. Let me read these last two sentences. Visibility helped. The storm was unobscured, which encouraged quicker sheltering. The community's preparedness mattered. And chance played a role, placing the storm's most violent loop over a small section of homes rather than a dense downtown. The Eli tornado is proof that the atmosphere can be both methodical and merciful in the same hour. All right, so we got that one all done. Whoa, that keeps scrolling for like a super long time. That's interesting. Anyways, we're now going to move over to edit land. All right. Oh, new computers doing pop-ups because Microsoft wants to sell me things. I ain't buying. All right. I guess the sync up with me isn't as important on this screen, but I would be curious to know if it's good. Let me go up here and poke around because I haven't in a minute. Let me hit stop on this. My goodness. Let me know if the camera on that looks too sharp. That beard looks pretty precise. Oh my goodness, I forgot I had this. Oh. I'm working to be on a calorie deficit, and I work out every morning, and sometimes I get super hungry, and a protein shake's where it's at. Because I already had breakfast. I've been up since 4 a.m., which, for those tuning in, that's almost 7 hours ago. Anyways, now we're going to start doing the edit. And I do two things at once here. I am listening, what I call audio proofing, audio that I've already cut up. And I'm going to cut up new audio that I've recorded. Let's just giddy up with it, eh? What was I on? Greg Maddox. He played sports ball. No, he's a baseball player. It's actually, this is a great script. I love this channel, and I love these scripts. They're well written. This isn't a plug. I haven't even put the link in yet. It's not a plug. It's just my opinion. They're well written, and I don't know baseball, so they're interesting because I like learning about it, because we have covered a lot of the old baseball guys like Mickey Mantle, Babe Ruth, stuff like that. Mind-blowing stuff I didn't know about. It's another reason why you should be a voiceover artist. You'll get smarter, or at least you'll hear more stuff and not just sit there and... But they only won one World Series during that stretch. It was a source of frustration for Maddox and the entire organization. Then, in 1995, everything changed. The Braves were peaking as a team. The offense was loaded with stars like Jones, Fred McGriff, and David Justice. Sorry, I had to space out there for a second. I realized that I recorded the wrong stuff in the wrong title thing. Not a big deal. It just threw me for a loop there. 5. Everything changed. The Braves were peaking as a team. The offense was loaded with stars like Jones. That had caught my ear. That cuts off rather abruptly, doesn't it? Team. The offense was... Yeah, we got to bring that out just a bit. Haha. Yeah, I thought the beard looked a little weird too. It doesn't do that when I'm in the little portal that you go into to set all the settings for the camera. Um, it looked not like that, but it's like that. Anyways, what was I doing? Making myself not sound as cut off? Let's see how that sounds. For Maddox and the entire organization. Then, in 1995, it didn't even catch my ear, so I'm assuming it's good. All confused with where everything. Hot beverage is essential. Hot beverage, yes. Beneath the calm. All right, that's where it starts. Very good. Put a few little buffers in there so it doesn't play as soon as you hit play. There's a little bit of a brutal. Back to Greg Maddox. 14 consecutive division titles, but they only won one World Series during that stretch. It was a source of frustration for Maddox and the entire organization. Then, in 1995, everything changed. The Braves were peaking as a team. The offense was loaded with stars like Jones, Fred McGriff, and David Justice. And on the mound, Maddox was as good as ever. The team had one goal: win it all. In Game 1 of the 1995 World Series against the Cleveland Indians, Maddox's pitching genius was on full display for a national audience. Maddox was as good as ever. The team had one goal: win it all. In Game 1 of my man says, creativity too. No, I'm not sure what that means, but thanks. Fred McGriff and David Justice. And on the mound, Maddox was as good as ever. The team had one goal: win it all. In Game 1 of the 1995 World Series against the Cleveland Indians, Maddox's pitching genius was on full display for a national audience. He threw a complete game two-hitter, striking out 5. Here we go. My nickname's Dennis. What's up, Dennis? I'm from Russia. I really liked your original riffs and how you played Pantera. Used my third R. Fellow Pantera fan. That's what's up, bro. Yeah. They're always with me. And did you catch my audio panel in the other shot? I'll be waiting for your return as long as it takes. You really... Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that, dude. But I'll get acquainted with your current creativity, too. And also, you have a great beard. Well, thank you. I grew it myself. Did you notice in the other shot? Let me just show you in case you didn't catch it before. The camera doesn't see it all. But I wrapped my audio panels in my big Pantera banner that my wife got me for Christmas. Talk about a win, right? Those are two big wooden, what were kind of ugly panels. And now, this is look all. Anyways, so unprofessional. Get it together, Mike. I'll do what I want. All right, let's get to work. I'm glad you're here, man. Thanks for your kind words. And stuff like that will inspire me to get to it quicker. So thank you. And David Justice. And on the mound, Maddox was as good as ever. The team had one goal: win it all. In Game 1 of the 1995 World Series against the Cleveland Indians, Maddox's pitching genius was on full display for a national audience. He threw a complete game two-hitter, striking out 5 and walking none. The Indians, who had one of the best offenses in baseball that year, couldn't touch him. He changed speeds, hit his spots, and made their hitters look completely couldn't touch him. He changed speeds, hit his spots, changed speeds, hit his spots, and made their hitters look completely overmatched. Indians hitters came back to the dugout shaking their heads. I don't know how to hit this guy, one player said. Every pitch looks the same coming out of his hand, then it's somewhere different than you expected. I'm trying to figure out if when I do, so I've started doing a thing when I do voices in a script, if there's like a section of the script where they're talking about a variety of different people said different things, like his coach said, blah, 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 and the other guy said, blah, 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 blah. I've been changing my mic position and like trying to alter my tone, not necessarily to do a completely new voice, but just to add some very specific distinction between them. But I'm wondering when I do that kind of stuff if I should, and I really should probably just talk to my clients about this. All my clients should usually just come and check these out with me. Just turn it on, have me on in your office, and be like, listen to this guy. I should pay him more. You know what? You deserve a raise. True love. Anybody want a peanut? Anywho, what was I even saying? I get myself so sidetracked. Oh, no, I was wondering if I should flip that into a second track and put a little effect on it, because it's super easy to do.
In their heads. I don't know how to hit this guy, one player said.
So if we drop this down, it's going to create a new track. I can go in on the effects panel, and I've got all these different preset effects because I'm a nerd and I do a bunch of stuff. And I got this cool reverby one that I got, and we could throw this. And so now it's this other guy, and he says this, and check this out.
To the dugout shaking their heads. I don't know how to hit this guy, one player said. Every pitch looks...
Yeah, see, and it's not a huge, overwhelming kind of effect. What else was there that would be... What if we wanted him to sound like Darth Vader? I don't think this is a very good Darth Vader effect, though, if I remember correctly. I think this is something that probably should get scrapped, but hasn't yet.
To the dugout shaking their heads. I don't know how to hit this guy, one player.
Whatever. Okay, let's get back to work. Sorry, I'm having a good time here today. Happy Friday, guys. Anyways, we don't need this track anymore. Let me get that out of there. Get rid of that weird extra V thing. Stretch this back out.
Look completely overmatched. Indians hitters came back to the dugout shaking their heads. I don't know how to hit this guy, one player said. Every pitch looks the same coming out of his hand, then it's somewhere different than you expected. That was the Mik'd experience. Frustration, confusion, and weak contact. The Braves...
So I got to figure out how to process this. I just found my double clap that Brad taught me, but I don't...
It was one of the...
I don't know where my rambling started, I just realized, because I've been using the double clap to tell myself on the waveform here when I'm done rambling, when I talk to the camera on the live stream.
The discovery of this caldera for me to open that closet. I got my original good, robust sound.
See, there I am rambling.
Can this giant be stirred again?
Excuse me.
Can this giant be stirred again? Paul says, probably better than my freaking Chromebook. Yeah,
well, I mean, the double clap worked. I got to try to train myself to double clap going into my rambles, but I'm clearly not very good at that. Let's go.
That was the Mik'd experience. Frustration, confusion, and weak contact. The Braves went on to win the World Series in 6 games, giving Mik'd the championship that had eluded him. He was phenomenal throughout the postseason, going 3-0 with a 2.11 ERA. After just 9 seasons in the majors, Mik'd was already a World Series champion and a 4-time Cy Young winner. The professor had reached the pinnacle. When the final out was recorded, Mik'd didn't celebrate time Cy Young winner. The professor had reached the pinnacle. When the final out was recorded, Mik'd didn't celebrate wildly. He just smiled, pumped his fist once, and walked calmly off the mound. Smiled, pumped his fist once, and walked calm. That was Greg. Understated. And walked calmly off and walked calmly and celebrate wildly. He just smiled, pumped his fist once.
Did you hear that mouth noise? I heard that mouth noise. We're going to get rid of that mouth noise.
Wildly. He just...
Right there. Did you hear that little... Can't have that. It's the little dots right there. See that?
He just...
Get out of here.
Final out was recorded. Mik'd didn't celebrate wildly. He just smiled, pumped his fist once, and walked calmly off the mound. That was Greg. Understated excellence. But he wasn't...
Oh, my
but
goodness.
He wasn't done. But he wasn't...
Okay.
But he wasn't done yet. Mik'd continued excellence. But he wasn't done yet. Mik'd continued to dominate throughout. Mik'd continued.
Oh, come on.
He just smiled, pumped his fist once, and walked calmly off the mound. That was Greg. Understated excellence. But he wasn't done yet. Maddox continued to dominate throughout the late 90s. But he wasn't done yet. Maddox continued to dominate throughout the late 1990s and early 2000s. In 1997, he went 19-4 with a 2.20 ERA. He went 19-4 with a 2.2 ERA. Thousands. In 1997, he went 19-4 with a 2.7. He went 19-4 with a 2.2 ERA, finishing second in Cy Young voting. Year after year, he was a model of consistency and excellence. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't.
You guys hearing about this? It makes me want to watch baseball. Like I'm listening to this Greg Maddux cat. I even talked to Gunner about this guy last night, or was it this morning on the way to school? Because it was talking about like mouth noises. I'm talking about how this dude like red hitters and stuff and was all. That's cool.
2 ERA, finishing second in Cy Young voting. Year after year, he was a model of consistency and excellence. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't a fire-breathing flamethrower, but he wasn't a fire-breathing and excellence. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't a fire-breathing flamethrower, but he was the guy you wanted on the mound in a big game. By the time he returned to the Cubs in 2004, he had already cemented his legacy as one of the greatest pitchers of all time. In 2004, at age 38, Maddox showed he still had it going.
It never fails when I run my mouth. I make a mistake and almost miss it.
Pitchers of all time. In 2004, at age his legacy.
That doesn't sound right.
His legacy as one of the greatest pitchers of all time. In 2004.
Ew, I don't like that.
In 2000.
All right, you guys ready for a quick punch in? We're going to do a quick punch in. We're going to do a punch in. Ready? Punch in, punch in, punch in, punch in. In 2004. Way better than that other garbage.
He had already cemented his legacy as one of the greatest pitchers of all time. In 2004, at age 38, Maddox showed he still had it, going 16-11 with a 4.02 ERA for Chicago. It was the first time in over a decade that his ERA was over 4, but he still won 16 games and proved he could still get outs. Then, in 2005, he won his 300th career game, joining one of 2005. He won his 2005. He won his 300th career game. In 2005, he won his 300th career game, joining one of baseball's most exclusive clubs. He was career game, joining one of baseball's most exclusive clubs. He was only his 300th career game, joining one of baseball's most exclusive career game, joining career game.
Bring some of that back. Ease into the next phrase, eh?
100th career game, joining one of...
Oh, what's that? Get that out of there.
300th career game, joining one of...
There's something in there I do not like. So we're going to cap it and just turn it down. See if that sounds a little bit better.
2005, he won his 300th career game, joining one of baseball's most exclusive clubs. He was only the 22nd pitcher in history to reach that milestone. The win came against the San Francisco Giants. And when he
where did I start all that?
He was only the win came against the San Francisco
Oh, boy.
History to reach that milestone. The win came against the San Francisco Giants. And when he recorded the final out, Cubs fans gave him a standing ovation that lasted several minutes. Maddox pitched until he was 42 years old, bouncing between the Cubs, Padres, and Dodgers in his final years. Finally, he retired after the 2008 season. His final years. Finally, he's in Dodgers in his final years. Finally, he retired after the 2008 season. He finished his career with 355 wins, a 3.16 ERA, and 3,371 strikeouts. He won 18 Gold Gloves. He finished his career with the most strikeouts. He won 18 Gold Gloves. 71 strikeouts.
Okay, there's a lot going on here. Let me explain this just a little bit, because I get rolling and I just do a bunch of stuff, and I don't think about stopping and explaining everything. Brad said last week you discussed an issue you had with a client trying to get you to do voiceover work for them without payment. Have you had other arguments with clients over billing? Yeah, I mean, there's been stuff for sure. I've gotten stiffed on bills before. I've had... So the way I structure my pricing, and at least in the context of the type of work that I do, I work mostly in YouTube narration. So I'm the voice you're going to hear on a lot of the faceless YouTube channels that you might be checking out. And a lot of those folks like to pay a flat rate, and I like to do a rate based on length. And I feel like that pays off better for everybody. So one thing that I ran into for a while with clients when I was switching to this strictly length-based system, no, that's not the issue that I was going to talk about. It was what led to the length-based billing. Here's how it went down. Sorry, rewind. When you start doing YouTube narration, everybody wants to pay a flat fee, and it's usually something along the lines of $15 for a 10 to 15 minute recording. That's what you're going to see a lot when you're just scanning the job boards on Upwork, and you got to start somewhere, so that's where I started. So that's the kind of stuff that I started doing. But then script creep is what I come to dub it, becomes a real thing. So if you're going to do this and you're going to record voiceovers for YouTube clients, YouTube is going to pay the creator of video content more if people watch the videos more. So the longer your video is, potentially, the more money you can make. So, a lot of the times, script creep works in. They start their project assuming that they're going to do like a 10 to 12 minute video, and then they start to get a little bit of success, or maybe they don't. And either way, one of the reactions is to bloat the video, make them longer, try to capture more watch time, maybe grab a couple more clicks because your video might seem like it has more authority in a certain topic because it's 34 minutes long instead of these other punks that are only 12. So that's a real long way of saying you find yourself signing on to a $15 per script deal that's supposed to be within 8 to 12 minutes, and all of a sudden they're sending you a script that's 4,500 words long, and you're looking at like a 22-minute monster, and you're like, wait a minute, that just doubled my work. To them, it's not that big of a deal. Like, they don't really think about it. And I get their perspective, too. They're like, well, I'm just trying to make the best content I can make, and you're my voiceover guy, so I just sent you the script. Like, I didn't really pay attention to the word count. I'm just trying to give you stuff. Totally get it. But that's why I switched to the pay-by-minute model. I do have a pay-by-word count model that I can bust out if I need to. But I prefer to do it by length, because even word count can be deceiving in regards to how long that production time is going to take. Because if I'm going to read something that's hopping, that's real fast, that I'm real energetic about, and I'm really reading it fast, I'm having a good time, and blah, 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 high energy, da-da-da-da. Well, you can cram in another, 1,000 words probably and still stay under your length meter because I'm going to read it fast. But if it's something that's supposed to be read slow, with intention, with meaning, well, that big old long word count takes a lot longer to produce as the person sitting here producing it. So I switched to, the pay by time, length. So that's my answer. Brad, have I had client issues? Yes, that's what led to my current pay thing, because it was a real thing. There was a lot of frustration at some points because when you get several, when you haven't set the boundary, and then you not only have clients that do that, but you start having several clients that do that. So now your workday that you planned on getting, let's say, 12 scripts done for $15 a pop. And again, these are starter rates. You're going to get 12 done because that's how fast you can do them, because they're all going to be in this 8 to 12 minute mark. You know how fast you are. You can crank that out. Well, all of a sudden, most of them are giving you stuff that's more like 17, 18, 19, 20 minutes long. That changes the whole thing. So the moral of that story, if you're a voiceover artist out there, I highly encourage you to bill by length. Unless you find a better way to do it, then please let me know.
Wins, a 3.16 ERA, and 3,371 strikeouts. He won 18 Gold Gloves. He finished his career with
There was a whole big thing there I was going to fix, because there's a lot I don't like about this. So the 18 Gold Gloves, the first one's just wrong.
He won 18 Gold Gloves.
Yeah, I abandoned that one, did a retake.
He won 18 Gold Gloves.
But then I accidentally, as I was editing, it wasn't an accident, but I split this apart because it made sense when I was looking at it. But it doesn't make sense when you listen to it. You need that connective tissue.
18 Gold Gloves.
That just don't sound right. You need that connective tissue in there. So what we're going to do is get that out of there, pull this back to get our full 18 back. It has the connective tissue in the middle. It's going to hit the ear right.
171 strikeouts. He won 18 Gold Gloves.
Yep.
He finished his career with the most ever by a pitcher, proving that he finished his career with the most ever
I don't like this.
Finished his career with the most ever by He finished his career with the most ever by
Yeah, overthinking it.
ERA and 3,371 strikeouts. He won 18 Gold Gloves. He finished his career with the most ever by a pitcher, proving that he wasn't just smart, he was also one of the best fielding pitchers in history. His glove work was so good that some managers would bunt against His glove work was so good that some managers was so good that some managers His glove work was so good. He was also one of the best fielding pitchers in history. His glove work was so good that some managers would bunt against other pitchers, but that some so good that some managers would bunt against other pitchers, but never against Mik'd, because they knew he'd turn it into an out every time. But perhaps his greatest accomplishment is this. From 1992 to 2008, Mik'd walked just 1.8 batters per 9 innings. His control was legendary, and despite never throwing particularly hard, he struck out 3,371 batters in his career because he made them chase pitches and constantly kept him off balance. He also induced weak contact better than anyone. His career constantly kept him off balance. He also induced weak contact better than anyone. His career ground ball to fly ball ratio was elite, meaning hitters constantly beat balls into the dirt rather than launching them into the air. In January 2014, in his first year of eligibility, Greg Maddux was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame, receiving 97.2% of the vote. It was a fitting tribute to a player who had revolutionized what it meant to be a pitcher. The 16 voters who didn't vote for him were immediately questioned by the baseball community. How could you not vote for Greg Maddux on the first ballot? During his induction speech, Maddux was humble, crediting his teammates, his coaches, and his catchers for his success. He thanked his brother Mike for pushing him to be better, his father for teaching him to read people, and Bobby Cox for believing in him. But everyone in attendance knew the truth. Greg Maddux was a genius on the mound, the smartest pitcher baseball has ever seen. Today, Maddux remains involved in baseball, working as a special assistant to the general manager for several teams. He's also passed. Today, Maddux remains involved in baseball, working as a special assistant to the general manager for several teams.
Sorry, I was looking at a message from a client. Brad says, is it more convenient for you to answer the chat during editing or while recording? Indifferent. It's all good. I have a feeling that as this live stream thing becomes more of a part of my existence, that I'll probably focus more in on the work at times and maybe not even check the chat very often, but we'll see how that
One in
goes.
attendance knew the truth. Greg Maddux was a genius on the mound, the smartest pitcher baseball has ever seen. Today, Maddux remains involved in baseball, working as a special assistant to the general manager for several teams. Remains involved in baseball, working as a special assistant to the general manager for several teams. He's also passed on his knowledge to a new generation of pitchers, teaching them that you don't need to throw 100 miles per hour to succeed. To a new generation of pitchers, teaching them that you don't need to throw 100 miles per hour to succeed. You just need to outsmart the hitter. Young pitchers seek him out for advice, and he's always willing to share his wisdom. Command and conviction, he tells them. If you have those two things, you can win at any level. His influence can, if you don't have those two things, conviction, he tells them. If you have those two things, you can win at any level. His influence can be seen in pitchers like Kyle Hendricks, who has modeled his game after Maddux's approach. Low velocity, high command, and an advanced understanding of sequencing. The Cubs even call Hendricks the Professor, a title that directly pays homage to Maddux. And while while there have been many great pitchers throughout baseball history, Roger Clemens pays homage to Maddux. Roger Clemens, Randy Johnson, Pedro Martinez, Clayton Kershaw, there's history. Roger Clemens, Randy Johnson, Pedro Martinez, Clayton Kershaw. There's no doubt that Greg Maddux's approach to the game, his cerebral dominance, and his sustained excellence make him one of the greatest ever to step on the mound.
No
He
doubt.
proved that you don't need to be the hardest thrower or have the nastiest breaking ball. You just needed to be the smartest guy on the field.
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks for watching. Do you think Maddux was the smartest player in baseball history? Let us
kinda do
know in
now.
the comments below.
All
And
right.
subscribe for
I
more
will.
legendary baseball stories every week.
Okay.
This is Inside Baseball, where we bring you the best of the game.
Best. Well, that was fun. I like those scripts. I'm in edit mode because, in theory, I need to finish this one before we can start listening to the next one, because this is the next one we're supposed to listen to. We're on minute 10. How long is this? Oh, we're almost done. Anybody doing anything fun this weekend? We have a fairly chill weekend. We've got a swim competition tomorrow for the boy. He's a competitive swimmer. Very good, might I add. I looked in the wrong direction, like the camera was going to be there. And then we are going to go... There is an RV show in a nearby metropolitan area. We're going to go look at some campers. We're thinking about trading ours in. It is definitely time. Going to go chill with some friends, kick it with the homies, come home, watch some football. Possibly do a stream sometime this weekend. I've been thinking about it. I've thought that maybe there would be more people available, like it's going to line up better with, because clearly I'm doing this live stream while a lot of people are working right now. So maybe a weekend one every now and then might be kind of fun, especially in the winter, man, because we don't do a whole lot, and wandering up here for quick little live stream wouldn't be bad. Because it is just, I just walk up my steps and studio's at the top of the stairs, and I go in and shut that door, and it's showtime. Take it easy. What? So how long is that? That's that. Plus that is that. Wait. Sorry, I'm doing math in my head because I don't want to do it out loud. Okay, got it. Numbers hard. So we go into render. I copy the name because I need it for my documents that I fill out to track all of my things. Maybe I'll put all that together in the future ebook ShamWow course that I put together. As I'll put all my documents that you could get, because they are pretty useful. And I've been working on refining them over time. But, you know, it turns out your tax preparer doesn't need any of it. So that was kind of weird. So I more just track all of my financials just for my own purposes, just so I can make sure that I am, what is supposed to come in comes in, because you know you got to make sure your clients pay, which they do. But every now and then, they need a little push. What am I doing? Yes, I remember. And then we normalize to -12, which is going to turn the overall volume up. It's going to make it hit better on YouTube. It's going to make it pop. It's going to sound more professional. And then we set the brick wall limit to peak to -1. That means my loudness never gets so loud that it clips and makes your speakers distort. Pair that with a good compression, and you get some fine audio. All right. And then we go over here, and we tell the computer, hey, I did that. Oh, and then I got to tell the computer I did this. And then, what is today? It's 10/24/25, which is a Friday. Happy Friday. We'll call it yoga day. I didn't really lift a lot of weights, but I stretched a lot. And then this was here, 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 here. I like to make that green because it makes me happy. And then I'm going over to Upwork, and I'm finding my client. There's a button. What does it say? It says, reloading the screen. We'll be right back. And then I think what I'm going to end up doing as we evolve with this whole live stream deal is start doing this administrative work after the stream's over. It's just so ingrained in my daily groove that I don't want to change everything all at once and risk forgetting some things, because, you know, getting paid is a pretty important part of all of this. So I don't want to mess up and accidentally not get paid. So you'll just have to deal with this awful sauce. Okay, now that we've done that, we could start this. Where are we at? We are still editing. Brad says, when I worked in a factory, I needed some unwind time when I got home. Do you notice a difference in your unwind time from working in a factory to working at home? Yes. I make less of a conscious effort to schedule in unwind time. And I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I don't know that it's that I'm neglecting the benefit that comes from having that unwind, chill time. But I also don't think doing this, I deal with nearly the stress levels that I did specifically with factory life, but with work life in general. I mean, in this studio, in this work that I've created for myself here, there's still stress. Like, I still need to do it. It still supports my family. So I can't just come up here and, you know, do whatever and get sucked in by my comic books and get distracted by everything like I want to sometimes. But no, I don't feel the need to super de-stress. And I'm not a big sit on the couch, watch TV guy because I'll fall asleep. That's probably from my factory days. No, I just like to work and then hang out with the boy and do the family thing and then work some more. Watch football. Go Colts. Whoa. And what are we doing? We still cutting? We still cutting. Oh, we got to the end of this one. Okay, so if I remember correctly, hello. I saw someone came in. Good to see you. If you're new, hi. Nice to see you. If you're returning, I changed some things. Got some new gear. Let's hang out. All right. So we're going back over, and I believe that I have the right mouse. I do. Look at me go, whoa, chat's doing stuff. You mentioned camping. I really miss camping. I just had an issue with terrible neighbors. I don't know what you mean. I've never had terrible neighbors. Hi, Mom. That's funny. Brad knows my mom now. Hi, Mom. So what were we doing? So I think I recorded the wrong one in the wrong one because with the strongest tornado ever, this was brand new client work, first time ever. So I usually do a little snippet and send it to them and be like, hey, brah, is this what you're feeling? And then they let me know. So what is this one? Is this tornado or is this alpaca?
Blue sky of the Pacific, east of the Philippines, something vast.
That's alpaca or apalaki. Oh, and I put this, the tornado one is still in the motorcycle thing. So that's going to make it easier, a little bit easier because it's not cut up, so I can just copy it, and I should just be able to come back over here to Tornado Land and paste it. Holy crap, that's the whole thing. Look how small that is. 23 minutes, though. Why does that look kind of weird? No, that doesn't look weird. Okay. Well, good, because I wouldn't want to re-record that. And we're just going to leave it there until we're 100% sure the other one's all good to go. So what we're going to do, we're going to start listening to alpaca. Is that what we cut up? I know it's not alpaca. Stop correcting me. The Apalaki Caldera. Let's go. If you don't know about it, you're about to.
Beneath the calm blue sky of the Pacific, east of the Philippines, something vast is buried beneath the silence. Something vast is buried in silence. The maps show nothing of the Pacific, east of the Philippines, something vast. Beneath the Pacific, east of the Philippines, something vast is buried in silence.
Ooh.
The maps show nothing but water. A stretch of ocean east of Luzon that fishermen cross without a second.
Question for the crowd. Do I sound like AI? Is it the perception? Because just this morning I got another question from a client. He was cool about it, but he was just like, hey, like, do you use AI? He's like, it's cool if you do. I was just curious. And I absolutely don't. Obviously, everybody sees what I do here. Oh, we got a new Trello link from that's cool. So yeah, I'm just wondering, as you listen to me, especially not me just talking, because obviously I'm a human standing here, right? But as you listen to my recordings as I finish them, I'd be curious to know if they end up sounding a little AI-ish. I try to keep little mistakes and little mouth noises here and there and little articulations that scream human, like my disgusting noises that I make. Although Brad suggested taking allergy pills, and you know what? My wife got me some, so that's going to help, hopefully, with all that. All right.
In the Pacific, east of the Philippines, something vast is buried in silence. The maps show nothing but water, a stretch of ocean east of Luzon that fishermen cross without a second thought. But under those waves lies a scar so enormous it shocked the world when it was discovered.
The
It was one of
world,
the
Craig.
Earth's most. It was one of the Earth's most. It was one of the Earth's most massive. It shocked the world when it was discovered. It was one of the Earth's most massive hidden structures. The Philippine Rise. The Philippine Rise. And sit.
All right, Sniffy. I think I'm jabbering over here. Let me find my jabber mark so I don't waste a bunch of time cutting stuff up. Okay, hold on.
All right, meter's running. Oh. All right. Own idiocy that I'm. This tornado ever recorded in Canada, eh? Yeah, I started this one once.
Yep. Okay, and then there should be a double. Is that my double clap?
June 22nd.
Brad, you strike again. You beautiful man. You saved me all that cutting time. You need a raise. I do take it as a compliment, but unfortunately, what Brad said was that's a great compliment to be confused with an AI voice. You're just too professional. Yes, there is some of that, but it's actually not good. Even just the perception. So, like, a client that is paying for a voiceover is doing so because they want a human voiceover. They could go and pay whatever it costs to some of the AI sites out there. There's a couple of them in particular. I don't remember their name off the top of my head, but they're like known for being really good, and they are. But these clients are paying for it because they want that humanness. So for them, when they start to get comments from their viewers about the voiceover sounding AI-ish, that's perceived for them as a negative. Because they're paying for humanity, and so I gotta make it sound bad sometimes, and I gotta make mistakes and act a little dumb, because I gotta sound human. But it does feel pretty good when they're like, "You use AI?" I'm like, "Nope, I'm just that good." like telling Steve Vai, right? Is that really you playing? Why, yes, it is.
Wrong mouse again.
Wrong one. Wait, what? Am I still yammering in this one?
All right,
meter right now in real life.
Oh, I gotta find the script. Oh, jeez, man, where'd it go? Yeah, I started this one once. Shot him a quick little thingy thing, and he wanted to look. And that's the wrong mouse again. June 22nd,
All right.
Vehicles hurled. Corrected the other way.
All right. Or we go back to the alpaca.
On that fishermen cross without a second thought. But under those waves lies a scar so enormous it shocked the world when it was discovered. It was one of the Earth's most massive hidden structures, the Philippine Rise. The Philippine Rise. And sitting right on top of that rise is something hidden structures. The Philippine Rise. And sitting right on top of that rise is something even more extraordinary, the Apalaki Caldera. A circular depression so wide it could fit entire countries inside it. The discovery of this caldera raised a lot of questions. Most important of which is.
I think this is the one we opened the stream with today. I think we're all caught up. We're not working on a backlog. We're working in real time, so that's cool.
A lot of questions. Raised a lot of questions. Most important of which is, can this giant be stirred again? Excuse me. Can this giant be stirred again? Can this giant be stirred again? What you'd see would. Most important of which is, can this giant be stirred again? What you'd see would look like another planet. The seafloor there rises like an enormous plateau. The Philippine Rise. Once known as the Benham Rise. It's not a single mountain, but an entire region of frozen fire. I gotta turn that off. Lost my spot. Hate it when that happens. In fire. I gotta turn that off. Of frozen fire. But an entire region of frozen fire. Ancient lava, a single mountain, but an entire region of frozen fire. Ancient lava.
Oh, I don't know, guys. What do we think? First take or second take? Hold on.
Single mountain, but an entire region of frozen fire. Ancient lava flows piled kilometers thick, like the hardened skin of an undersea of frozen fire. But an entire region of frozen fire. Ancient lava flows piled mountain, but an entire region of frozen fire.
We're going to cut it of. That's what we're going to do.
Of frozen.
That's what I'm going to do.
Entire region of frozen.
I'm going to do it.
Region of frozen. Of frozen. Frozen. Of frozen.
Oh, let's do this. How's it going to sound? Is it going to be good?
An entire region of frozen fire. Ancient lava flows piled kilometers thick, like the hardened skin of an undersea world that once burned.
More fans.
To understand the Apalaki, you have to go back nearly 50 million of an undersea world that once burned. To understand the Apalaki, you have to go back nearly 50 million years to a time when the Earth was busier reshaping itself.
Too long of a
the
pause.
Pacific million years. To a time when the Earth was... You have to go back nearly 50 million years to a time when the Earth was busier reshaping itself. The Pacific Ring of Fire, the horseshoe-shaped belt circling the ocean, was already alive with earthquakes and volcanoes. Tectonic plates slid and collided like slow-moving continents of stone. In what would later become the Philippine Sea, an immense pulse of magma surged upward from deep within the mantle. Love this job. Seriously, this is so fun to read this stuff. I watched so much Discovery like the mantle. As the molten rock poured...
We picked the same one. I kept the second take. Unless I kept the first one, then I'm wrong. No, I'm pretty sure I kept the second take.
An immense pulse of magma.
No, I cut it in half. This delayed stuff is weird.
An immense pulse of magma surged upward from deep within the mantle. As the molten rock poured, magma surged upward from deep within the mantle. As the molten rock poured through cracks in the seafloor, it cooled layer by layer, building an underwater continent of basalt. Over millions of years, those layers grew into the continent of basalt. Over millions of years, those layers grew into the Philippine Rise, an oceanic plateau as large as Iceland. Rising several as large as Iceland. An oceanic plateau grew into the Philippine Rise. An oceanic plateau as large as Iceland, rising several kilometers above the abyssal with collapse. Grew into the Philippine Rise. An oceanic plateau as large as Iceland, rising several kilometers above the abyssal plain. But the Earth balances creation with collapse. Beneath the rise, pressure mounted until the mainland, rising several kilometers above the abyssal plain. But the Earth balances creation with collapse. Beneath the rise, pressure mounted until the magma chamber emptied faster than it could refill. The crust above lost its support and collapsed inward, forming a ring-shaped depression more than 150 kilometers across, roughly the distance from New York City to Philadelphia, or 1.5 times the size of Metro Manila. That collapse became Apalaki, the tag-along word for giant. If you could stand on one rim, you wouldn't see the other side. It's wider than Yellowstone's caldera in the United States. You wouldn't see the other side. It's wider than Yellowstone's caldera in the United States. Wider even than Indonesia's Toba, both of which shaped human history in the United States. Wider even than Indonesia's Toba.
This might sound a little smushed.
Yellowstone's caldera in the United States. Wider even than Indonesia's Toba, both of which shaped human history with their explosive eruptions. But here, size tells a different story. On land, volcanoes explode because gases trapped in magma. Escape. On land, volcanoes explode because gases trapped in magma.
cut it and explode.
Story. On land, volcanoes explode because gases trapped in magma escape violently. Under the sea, water pressure acts like a colossal lid, keeping those gases dissolved. Trapped in magma escape violently. Under the sea, water pressure acts like a colossal lid, keeping those gases dissolved. Instead of detonating...
Oh, there was a thing. I heard it.
Apalachi's dissolved. Instead of...
but I don't want to cut it just out because they'll be too close together. I'm going to put a little thing in there.
Water pressure acts like a colossal lid, keeping those gases dissolved. Instead of detonating, Apalachi's magma flowed outward in glowing rivers across the ocean floor. Apalachi's magma flowed outward in glowing rivers across the ocean floor. Glowing rivers across the ocean. Water pressure acts like a colossal lid, keeping those gases dissolved. Instead of detonating, Apalachi's magma flowed outward in glowing rivers across the ocean floor, layering the crust in sheets of hardened rock. It was less a destroyer than a builder. A slow motion crust in sheets of hardened rock. It was less a destroyer than a builder, a slow motion architect of the seabed. Eventually, the fires dimmed. The molten core cooled. The molten heart cooled. The chamber solidified seabed. Eventually, the fires dimmed. The molten core cooled. The chamber of the seabed. Eventually, the fires dimmed. The molten heart cooled. The chamber solidified, and Apalachi fell silent. The volcano became a fossil, sealed beneath Apalachi fell silent. The volcano became a fossil, sealed beneath 2 to 3 kilometers of seawater. Modern studies of rock samples from the rise to 3 kilometers of seawater. Modern studies of rock samples from the 3 kilometers of seawater. Modern studies of rock samples from the rise date this activity to, is it Eocene? Modern studies of rock samples to 3 kilometers of seawater. Modern studies of rock samples from the rise date this activity to the Eocene epoch, tens of millions of years before humans walked the earth. For most of history, it slept unseen. Then, in 2019, Filipino marine scientists and their partners mapped the Philippine rise using multi-beam sonar and seismic imaging, technologies that send sound waves deep into the ocean and read their echoes. The images revealed a perfect circle, terraces along the rim,
I like
and a
perfect
central
circle.
uplift. Classic fingerprints of
awesome.
a massive caldera collapse. What they found might be the largest known caldera on the planet. The discovery changed more than textbooks. It deepened the Philippines' connection to this hidden frontier. In 2012, the United Nations Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf officially recognized the Philippine rise as part of the country's extended continental shelf, giving the nation sovereign rights over its seabed
That's an
resources.
interesting shape.
Apalaki wasn't just a scientific marvel. Apalaki wasn't just a scientific marvel. It was proof that beneath Philippine, the country's extended continental.
But I want to know.
Walls buckle inward. Heavy, stronger. Walls. The mill again. The second pass is stronger. Walls buckle inward.
Walls buckle inward. That's that shape of that. At least that's the shape of me saying it. Brad says, last week you showed editing on the fly where you were cutting and listening to the same file. Is that quicker or slower than doing 2 files at the same time? I think slower and less efficient, because when I do it this way, I'm doing 2 at the same time. As a guy I worked with once would say, simultaneously at the same time. He was a redundant fellow, at least that day. Yeah, because I am practiced enough at this point that I cut a lot faster than the play is. I guess I could take it up to like 1.25 times speed and listen to it faster, which might not be such a bad idea now that that just popped into my brain. That might be something to check into because that could theoretically really do a lot. That would sound goofy. I don't know if that would affect the stream at all. Hi to whoever's new and joining us. Thank you for coming. Brad was just asking about editing on the fly versus cutting up one while listening to another one. If you're new, I don't know if that makes any sense, what I just said. But it just seems easier to be going back and forth between, because the play bar is just going nice and steady here. Whereas if we zoom out and I'm cutting way down here and I got to fix something that I heard way back here, I got to zoom out and I got to zoom into there to get the fix done. And it usually is just a longer process to do it, because I'm up here. My cursor's up here and everything. And, oh, crap, I just moved it. And, but is that the weird shaped one? I lost where I was. That's okay. I think that makes sense, though.
Or did the caldera's massive ring appear on the screens of
All right, well, I wasn't there yet.
Caldera underwater refuge that sustains local fisheries. That's why the government has declared much model.
Where was I on this? Ah, bugger. 640, I think. Unless I'm pretty caught up with the
model
stream.
how energy moves beneath Luzon. Crucial knowledge for a nation sitting atop one of the most complex tectonic intersections on Earth. It also influences life itself. The ridges and slopes of Apalaki. Then, in 2019, Filipino marine scientists and their partners mapped the Philippine rise using multi-beam sonar and seismic imaging, technologies that send sound waves deep into the ocean and read their echoes. The images revealed a perfect circle, terraces along the rim, and echoes. The images revealed a perfect circle. Sonar and seismic imaging.
Buttons.
Technologies that send sound waves deep into the ocean and read their echoes. The images revealed a perfect circle, terraces along the rim, and a central uplift. Classic fingerprints of a massive caldera collapse. What they found might be the largest known caldera on the planet. The discovery changed more than textbooks. It deepened the Philippines' connection to this hidden frontier. In 2012, the United...
Pause. We just had something cool happen. I had a brand new client contact me. Obviously, I can't share too many specific details, but this is always an exciting moment because this is a referral. Gal here hit me up. She says, hey, I was referred by this guy, which is awesome when that starts to happen in your career. Wants to do... So the title of the script in front of me is the name of a cult classic from the 90s that just happened to come out when I was a teenager. And I hope that's what I think it is. And I am going to go ahead and accept her offer because the specific fella that's been helping me out, he's really... That's why relationships are so important when you start to freelance and branch out on your own. I mean, they're important everywhere in life, but like... And I'm not trying to say like there would have ever been a reason for me to burn a bridge with this particular guy at all. We've always been... I don't even remember how we found each other. But anyways... you're going to have interactions with people that might go a little bit south, but it's so important not to burn any bridges along the way and not let pride get in the way of building a robust career that's built on integrity and just doing the right thing. You know what I mean? 'Cause, I mean, it's so cool when you start getting referrals and stuff like that, and they know my rate. He knows my rate, and he tells them. And these are always done deals. This isn't somebody where like I need to audition or send him a sample or whatever. I mean, her very first interaction was sending me the offer on Upwork. It's incredible. And it's something that I want to read. So let me get her. What was her name? There it is. And let me get her on the list. I can't read it on the stream yet, but I will ask her if I can. And give me 1 second. I want to write her a little bit of a message. Thank you so much. Okay, I just gave her my initial thank you. And then I'm going to go in. I have a Word document that I've saved. I had AI help me write a document asking permission from my clients in an official sense, a release to use the stuff, their scripts on the stream here. And I'm going to ask her if I can do that real quick. Look at this. Look what you're totally seeing behind the curtain now. I'm going to copy that and send that over to her. And it sounds like a standardized message, so I'm even going to say the following is a standardized question. I spelled standardized wrong. Okay, and again, this is just me getting legal permission from her to be able to share these scripts. Okay. What a boring moment for you guys. Sorry, I should have said, hey, go use the bathroom or something. New clients are a good thing. New clients are always a good thing. That's 2 in 2 days. Because beware, freelancers, future freelancers. Just when you think you have the right amount of work, it's time to start getting new clients. Remember that.
Send sound waves deep into the ocean and read their echoes. The images revealed a perfect circle, terraces along the rim, and a central uplift. Classic fingerprints of a massive caldera collapse.
Classic.
What they found might be the largest known caldera on the planet. The discovery changed more than textbooks. It deepened the Philippines' connection to this hidden frontier. In 2012, the United Nations Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf officially recognized the Philippine rise as part of the country's extended continental shelf, giving the nation sovereign rights over its seabed resources. Apalaki wasn't just a scientific marvel. It was proof that beneath Philippine waters lay both natural history and national heritage. The revelation also reshaped how scientists think about Earth itself. The Philippine Rise is what geologists call a large igneous province, a place.
Brad, let me tell you, they took the color out of the Hulk juice. When I went on Amazon to refill it or whatever, it's lit pre-workout. I've been taking it for years. I don't remember who introduced it to me. It was either a buddy of mine or the RV factory world. But you can't get the original version anymore, the OG, so I had to upgrade to the new version. And it's no more Hulk. It's just pasty Peter Parker juice. No, it's not. Swip. Let's go.
Its seabed resources. Apalaki wasn't just a scientific marvel. It was proof that beneath Philippine waters lay both natural history and national heritage. The revelation also reshaped how scientists think about Earth itself. The Philippine Rise is what geologists call a large igneous province. How scientists think about Earth itself. The Philippine Rise is what geologists call a large igneous province, a place where the planet once bled lava on a continental scale. Events like this have rewritten the planet's climate and Events like this have rewritten continental scale. Events like this have rewritten the planet's climate and chemistry before. The Deccan traps in India coincided with the extinction of the dinosaurs, and the Siberian traps may have triggered the greatest die-off with the extinction of the dinosaurs. And the Siberian traps may have triggered the greatest die-off in history. Apalaki shows that such colossal outpourings didn't just happen on land. They happened under the sea, quietly sculpting ocean basins while life...
1 second. We're getting her a link. She's down. So let's say hello to her if she comes in. How do I... Oh, here it is. How do I give her my live stream? You give her the link. Okay, let's get back to it.
The Deccan traps in India coincided with the extinction of the dinosaurs, and the Siberian traps may have triggered the greatest die-off in history. Apalaki shows that such colossal outpourings didn't just happen on land. They happened under the sea, quietly sculpting ocean basins while life evolved above. Yet, its story doesn't end in the deep past. The Philippine Rise still shapes the Philippines today. Its thick volcanic crust affects how earthquakes and tsunamis travel through the region. Knowing its structure helps scientists model how tsunamis travel through the region. Knowing its structure helps scientists model how energy moves beneath Luzon, crucial knowledge for a nation sitting atop one of the most complex tectonic intersections on Earth. It also influences life itself. The ridges and slopes of Apalaki. It also influences beneath Luzon, crucial knowledge for a nation sitting atop one of the most complex tectonic intersections on Earth. It also influences tectonic intersections on Earth. It also influences life itself. The ridges and slopes of Apalaki create upwelling. It also influences life itself. The ridges and slopes of Apalaki create upwellings that feed plankton blooms and attract tuna, whales, and other migratory species. Coral gardens and sponge fields grow along its edges, forming an underwater refuge that sustains local fisheries. That's why the government has declared much of the Philippine Rise a protected food supply exclusive zone, ensuring a protected food supply systems above the caldera.
Let's try this.
Government has declared much of the Philippine Rise a protected food supply exclusive zone, ensuring the ecosystems above the caldera remain intact. And then there's the technological wonder of the discovery itself. For decades, satellites and ships passed over this spot. The discovery itself. Satellites and ships passed over this spot without realizing what lay. itself. For decades, satellites and ships satellite wonder of the discovery itself. Satellites and ships
What am I
passed
doing with
over
my
this
life?
spot without realizing what lay below. Only with
Oh, I see what I did.
of the discovery itself. For decades, satellites and ships passed over this spot without realizing what lay below. Only with modern sonar, sending sound pulses that map every contour of the seafloor, did the caldera's massive ring appear on the screens of Filipino scientists. Caldera's massive ring appear on the screens of Filipino scientists. It was like uncovering the outline of a sleeping giant on the screens of Filipino scientists. It was like uncovering the outline of a sleeping giant of Filipino scientists. It was like uncovering the outline of a sleeping giant. Are we talking about Moana? Filipino scientists. It was like uncovering the outline of a sleeping giant. Are we talking about Moana? I feel like it's kind of Moana-ish. I hear kind of the, oh, yeah. Oh, where's my mouse? Is this the wrong one? I knew I was going to do it. I'm using the wrong mouse to try to run the wrong
Oh,
computer.
my goodness.
Wait. All right. Sleeping God. Sounds metal. Where was I? I just realized I don't have something on my screen. Oh, the sleeping giant. Let me see if I can fix that right quick. Some folky folks in here. Brad and Paul and Mike. Let's start a band. Brad and Paul and Mike. Hey, he's a drummer, and he's a guitar player, and singer, and bass player, right? You do all that, Paul? I think you do. I'll just stand there and wear this shirt. All right, we were talking about the outline of a sleeping god. By the way, Brad, any feedback on what you see or hear would be excellent.
Dude, just work.
Giant, first rodeo with this new ride. So my screen almost looks like the video of the sleeping giant. As word spread online about the discovery of the Apalaki giant, as word spread online about the discovery of the Apalaki caldera, so did rumors. Some claimed the world's largest volcano was waking up. But geologists in the Philippine Institute of Volcanology,
said no.
was waking up. But geologists and the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and the Philippine Institute of Volcano was waking up. But geologists and the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology were clear. Apalaki is extinct. No heat flow, no magnum, no seismic unrest, just ancient rock. Its silence is not the calm before a storm. It's the stillness of something long finished. That's what she said. Yet, the mystery remains. How could such an immense volcano rise long finished? That's what she said.
It had to happen. Let's see, Brad says, I think a lot of people just assume the voice they hear narrating is the voice of the person running the channel, right? Do you ever get credit or complaints for people for running a channel that you only do voiceover for? It is a little weird to not get credit, but it's just kind of par for the course with the particular kind of work we do. It's not expressly stated. Well, and maybe it is somewhere in the Upwork bylaws, but you just kind of assume when you hand your voiceover over that you're just giving over the rights and you're not asking for credit or anything like that, which, do I ever get complaints from people for running a channel that you only do voiceover for? No, I don't think that's ever happened because it's so anonymous, because since I don't get credit, there's no way for anybody to know that it's me. So, and I think we got a new person on. Hi. I think I know who you are, but I'll let you reveal yourself to the world. Unless you're somebody that I don't think you are, then I'll let you announce yourself to the world. Thanks for coming.
Ancient rock. Its silence is not the calm before a storm. It's the stillness of something long finished. The mystery remains. How could such an immense volcano rise, burn, collapse, and vanish without anyone knowing for millions of years? And what other giants lie sleeping beneath the waves? Their stories waiting to be found. The answer comes in the final relief. Apalaki's purpose was never to destroy, but to build. It built the seafloor that underpins the Philippines' eastern edge. It built the ecosystems that thrive today. It built data that now helps scientists predict how the Earth behaves. It built data ecosystems that thrive today. It built data that now helps scientists predict how the Earth behaves. So when you look at the map of the Philippines, when you look at a map of the Philippines, imagine this. Just beyond Luzon's eastern horizon lies an ancient scar the size of a small country, the resting place of a volcano that shaped the sea itself. It isn't a threat. It's a reminder that Earth's greatest forces shaped the sea itself. A volcano that shaped the sea itself.
Shaped the sea itself. Let's see if that's a little better. Because it sounded so shady, shardy. Did you guys hear that? I didn't say shart, but it was a little weird.
In place of a volcano that shaped the sea itself. Shaped the sea itself. It is.
So what if I
shaped the sea?
Okay. So it's not okay. So the S isn't going to flow into the other sentence as clear as seamlessly as this one did because this one's organic, right? That's what really happened. But what we can do is swap out the first one. The P didn't come across. It sounded more like a T, right?
Shaped the sea.
Shaped. Yeah.
Shaped the sea.
So what we can do is try to cut it here because that is the consonant on the end that's doing the work. So let's try to isolate it. Get rid of that. And then, how do I want to do this?
The sea itself. The sea itself. The sea itself.
I like that new one. Let's see. So we need to chop that off. Let me turn off ripple editing so I can just grab it and put it where I want. Turn it back on. Now everything moves together. This was the OG, right? That's what it looked like. This is our new ending consonant. And this is our new whatever those words were at the end. So in theory, it shouldn't sound like we just did surgery. We'll leave this on for fun. We'll delete that, but it'll show us what it used to sound like. Maybe it sounded better. Who knows?
Place of a volcano that shaped the sea itself. The sea itself.
That works for me. Let's do that again.
The size of a small country. The resting place of a volcano that shaped the sea itself.
I'll buy that for $1.
In place of a volcano that shaped the sea itself. It isn't a threat. It's a reminder that Earth's greatest forces don't always shout. Sometimes they whisper from the deep, and their echoes, though silent now, still hold the power to remind us how fragile and extraordinary our planet truly is. And as for that question, what if the giant stirred again? The truth is both comforting and haunting. It won't. But knowing it once did is enough to remind us that the planet we live on is never truly still. It's just between heartbeats. That was fun. I like that. That was a good script. Yeah, boy. All right, I think we're going to do a two for us.
What?
The planet we live on is never truly still. It's just between heartbeats. That was fun. I like that. That was a good script.
That was a good script.
Heart-
All right, and we're going to render this one. We're going to copy the name of it. We're going to find the folder that it goes in. We're going to normalize to -12. It makes it louder. Makes it sound better. Presents better on your video. Brick wall limit -1 because we don't want speakers popping. I keep it popping. And you'll see, this is the normalization in process. So see what it's doing across the screen there? Oh, you can't see that. Look at that. Oh, you don't see the render screen. That is fascinating. On my screen right now, I have 2 more giant windows that are processing audio files. That's interesting because in my system, I guess I only gave you permission for the main Reaper screen and not the other ones. Huh. So it's even more boring for you when I'm just messing around here doing my thinger-dinger. Necessary paperwork. But instead of doing all that, we're just going to put the minutes in. And I'll calculate that later. We rendered it. We're good. Did we finish Tornado Land? How close are we to the end? Oh, we just got a little bit left. I will not be normalized. It's true, Brad. It's an excellent observation. All right, go back over here and copy this. Wow, it's noon already? I got to get some work done. Look at me loafing. I am behind, though. But, again, it'll all become second nature. All the awkwardness that you see in me on the stream will fade. Because it'll just become part of my daily routine. It's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to it, actually. I'm excited that I have this second full-time laptop, so I can just, for the most part, leave everything up and running and just come in and turn it on and blasty blast. I didn't put out a short today. Normally, the whole process of me kicking up a live stream is I'll make a short, and I will send that. Imagine a small wooden ship with sails. That's my short. I place it in the water, and I hope for a gust of wind to send it down to deliver its message to the masses. That's what the short's supposed to do, is be like, hey, get in here, I'm doing stuff you might like. But today I was trying it, and I wasn't super inspired today. So my shorts that I was coming up with didn't come across as particularly good or genuine. So I was like, we're not going to do that. So I had to skip the short for this time. But that's okay. It was my first time getting back to streaming anyway. And with the new equipment, it was going to be kind of okay to maybe have a smaller crowd. That way the initial warts of the new gear wouldn't be broadcast so widely. But of course, millions of people will watch this later, so you'll see all of it. Hello, Pop Culture Pass. I don't know who you are, but you seem awesome already. Well, listen to me. What is this?
Oh.
All right. Wait, does that mean I'm at the end where I just ramble?
Up with me isn't as...
Yes, that's where I'm at the end and I just ramble. And, we're not going to touch that audio. That's what we're going to do. We're going to delete this, and we're going to record a script about motorcycles. Danger, danger, danger. Where is it at? Well, now, I had it once. I promise you. It's possible that I didn't. I got the Trello board open. We can grab it from there. And I've got the thinger-dinger made for it. These are usually a little longer. Let's see. What's the word count on today's? 2,100 words. That's not so bad. Let's see if I got any necessary replies. Nothing major in the emails. I'm waiting specifically on another client with not only a couple of scripts, but also a release on whether or not I can use it on the stream. But at any rate, let's move over to read some scripts. Try to figure out how to mouse my way through life. 2 computers, 2 mice, I don't know. All right. But the shirt, though, I'm just saying. I really like this shirt. I just found it the other day. I went through my closet. Found some cool shirts that... It's weird. They all shrunk. I don't understand that. Where am I at? All right. Motorcycle engines that changed everything. Perfect. Wrong mouse. Oh. Okay, we're recording there. Where's my blanket? Go Colts. All right. Pop Culture Pass says, do you find yourself narrating the rest of your day to yourself after work or just never wanting to talk at the end of the day? Well, turns out this is me, and this has been me since I was could talk. And according to my mama, I was 18 months when I started talking. When I'm driving, I talk to myself. When I do all the time. It's just who I am. So this job is perfect for me because this is literally what I've been practicing for my whole life. So yeah, even live streaming, I'm not really any different than I would be if I was just up here in my studio doing my thing anyway. All right, I'm going to do the double clap and start, but feel free to chime in with any questions or anything. And of course, this is where we say the obligatory, make sure you like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Tell your friends, call your mom, call your wife. 7 motorcycle engines changed everything we know about two-wheeled performance. Some topped 200 miles per hour. Others rewrote the rule book on reliability. And one literally invented the superbike category overnight. But here's the twist. The fastest wasn't the most influential. And the oldest on this list still shapes every BMW you can buy today. Number 7. Kawasaki H2 Mach 4, 1972. Let's start with the wildest engine ever to grace a production motorcycle. I didn't like that. Let's start with the wildest engine to ever grace a production motorcycle. The Kawasaki H2 Mach 4's 748cc two-stroke triple. Two-stroke triple. I can cut that in. That's all hard consonant sounds, so that's why I was okay to stay in those 3 words for a second, because they're going to be easy to chop up and put together. In 1972, this beast produced 74 horsepower in a bike weighing 452 pounds wet, running a quarter mile in just over 12 seconds when most bikes struggle to crack 13. Honda and Japanese manufacturers... Honda and the Japanese manufacturers had gone 4-stroke, and Kawasaki needed to compete without spending Honda money on complex designs. Their solution: 3 cylinders, 2-stroke configuration, and enough raw thrust to make grown men reconsider their life choices. The H2 used a separate oil injection system called Superlube that varied based on throttle position and RPM. So unprofessional. That varied based on throttle position and RPM. There we go. Sophisticated for its time, but the delivery pump failed without warning, leading to seized pistons. The H2 earned nicknames like Widowmaker from emergency rooms, not marketing departments. Power delivery was viciously peaky, almost nothing below $4,000, then a savage hit at 6,000 RPM that could swap then a savage hit at 6,000 RPM that could swap ends on you. I don't know what that means. The frame was undersized. The frame was undersized, brakes marginal, and handling got exciting in ways insurance companies frown upon. Brad also uses super lube. Chat, you should know this. Why it belongs here. The H2 proved you didn't need a massive four-stroke to get stupid fast. Every modern sports bike's obsession with power-to-weight ratios traces back to Kawasaki's willingness to build something. Every modern sports bike's obsession with power-to-weight ratios. That's my sentence break. Now I've got all that put away. Now I can play around with the rest of it and try to get it right. You don't always have to nail every whole sentence. You can cut it apart. There's good places you can cut it. Traces back to Kawasaki's willingness to build something physics suggested they couldn't. Traces back to Kawasaki's willingness to build something physics suggested they shouldn't. Modified H2s dominated drag racing throughout the 70s. If you're buying one, the super lube pump is your enemy. Budget for a complete rebuild or premix. Budget for a complete rebuild or premix conversion. Number 6. Harley-Davidson Knucklehead, 1936. How did a Harley engine make a list about innovation? The Knucklehead OHV twin turbo genuinely transformed American motorcycling, but understanding why requires looking at what came before. In the early 30s, Harley-Davidson was getting schooled by Indian motorcycles. Harley's flathead V-twin engines were reliable, but couldn't make competitive power, which Indians' overhead valve designs were faster, while Indians' overhead valve designs were faster and smoother. The Knucklehead arrived in 1936 with 61 cubic inches. Roughly 1,000 cc, and overhead valves controlled by push rods. It made 40 horsepower, nearly double what the old flatheads produced, establishing the visual and mechanical DNA that would define Harley-Davidson for the next century. The nickname came from riders who thought the rocker boxes looked like knuckles. Harley initially hated it. They wanted OHV, but the name stuck. The innovation wasn't just overhead valves. Engineer William Harley designed a recirculating oil system that was light years ahead of the total loss systems common then. Previous Harleys literally dumped their oil on the ground. The Knucklehead kept its oil internal, meaning you could ride more than 50 miles without stopping to add oil. Sounds pretty significant. But these engines leaked like a screen door on a submarine. And leave. Harley didn't truly solve oil leak problems until around 2005. In 1937, a knucklehead hit 136 miles per hour at Daytona Beach, legitimizing Harley as a performance brand beyond police bikes. Those overhead valves need checking every 1,000 miles. Budget a solid afternoon for tune-ups. Number 5, BMW R32 Boxer, 1923. Here's an engine older than your grandfather that still defines an entire brand. Oh, excuse me. That still defines an entire brand. The BMW's R32's 494cc flat twin boxer from 1923 is arguably the most influential motorcycle engine ever built when you measure impact over time. After World War I, Germany's economy was shattered, and BMW had been building aircraft engines. Germany's economy was shattered, and BMW had been building aircraft engines. The Treaty of Versailles ended that, so they needed a new product fast. The motorcycle market was wide open, but filled with crude, unreliable machines that broke constantly and vibrated riders' feelings loose. BMW engineer Max Friz looked at 1923 motorcycles and thought they were doing everything wrong. His innovation was simple, but fundamentally radical. Mount the cylinders horizontally, sticking out into the airstream for maximum cooling, and configure them as opposed twins to naturally balance vibration. Then connect the transmission directly to the engine and drive the rear wheel with a shaft instead of chains or belts. The result was like dropping a machine from the future into 1923. The Boxer engine was smooth and air-cooled evenly. The shaft drive meant no chain maintenance. You just rode. For riders used to adjusting chains every few hundred miles, this was witchcraft. That basic layout from 1923, longitudinal Boxer engine, shaft drive, full cradle frame, is virtually identical to what BMW still builds today. A rider from 1923 could look at a modern R18 and immediately understand it. That's 102 years of continuous design evolution from a single blueprint. Brad says, do you find a large or small oil cooler better for knucklehead engines? I'm going to say, that one. Yeah, I know how to say that word. I don't know how to say that word. I think I got it. Number 4. Ducati Desmodromic L Twin. Let's talk about Fabio Taglioni, because you can't discuss Ducati without the man who gave the company its mechanical soul. In the late 50s and throughout the 60s, Taglioni was obsessed with valve float. At high RPMs, valve springs simply couldn't close valves fast enough, limiting engine speed and therefore power. Taglioni's solution was desmodromic valve actuation, a system using mechanical cams to both open and close valves, eliminating springs entirely. Mercedes-Benz had tried it in racing cars, and other engineers experimented with it, but Taglioni made it work reliably on a motorcycle. First with singles, then with the iconic 90-degree L Twin. The first proper Desmo L Twin appeared in 1971 with the 750 GT, but the 1972 750 Imola racer validated the concept. Ducati entered that race as complete underdogs against the dominant Japanese inline fours. Nobody expected the Italian V-twin to compete, but Paul Smart and Bruno Spaghieri took first and second place, thoroughly embarrassing Honda, Kawasaki, and everyone else. Why did it work? The desmodromic system allowed Ducati to run higher valve lift and more aggressive cam profiles without worrying about spring rates or valve float. The engine breathed better The engine breathed better at high RPM and made about 80 horsepower from just 748 cc, competitive with Japanese 750s using 4 cylinders. But here's the controversy. Ducati fans called desmodromic valves engineering perfection. Ducati fans call desmodromic valves engineering perfection. Ducati mechanics call them a maintenance nightmare. Both are correct. The system requires incredibly precise clearance adjustment on multiple points. Mess it up, and you can destroy an engine faster than you can say, expensive Italian paperweight. Expensive Italian paperweight. I have notifications come in on a new computer, and it's not good. It makes sounds. I don't know if you can hear it, but I can. The L-twin configuration was also brilliant. The 90-degree angle provides perfect primary balance, and mounting it longitudinally creates a low center of gravity and ideal weight distribution. Plus, it looks fantastic. I think that part was talking about my shirt. Every Ducati Superbike since 1972 uses this basic configuration. The 916, the 999, the Panigale, all Desmo L-twins. Number 3. Hold on, I gotta get this crap off my screen, and I got the wrong mouse again. Dook, dook, dook. Okay. Did I do the clap? Did I do the thing? Number 3. Kawasaki Z1 900, 1972. Now we get to the bike that made Honda's engineers spit out their coffee. The Kawasaki Z1 900 and its 903cc DOHC inline 4. If the CB750 invented a superbike, the Z1 perfected it and established Kawasaki as the performance king. The backstory is wild. Kawasaki had actually developed a 750cc 4-cylinder bike before Honda's CB750, ready to release in 1968. Then Honda dropped the CB750 bomb, and Kawasaki's management made the ballsiest decision in motorcycle history. They shelved their 750, went back to the drawing board, and decided to build something so much bigger and more powerful that Honda couldn't respond quickly. The Z1 that emerged in 1972 wasn't an evolution. It was a declaration of war. The 903cc DOHC inline 4 made 82 horsepower, nearly 20 more than the CB750. It would run a quarter mile in 12.0 seconds flat and top out at 132 miles per hour. In 1972, that made it the fastest production motorcycle in the world. The Z1's engine was over-engineered in the best way. Kawasaki used a chain to drive the double overhead cams. Honda used a single cam, which meant they could use more aggressive cam profiles. They used plain bearings for the crankshaft instead of roller bearings, making the engine smoother and more durable at high RPM. Kawasaki deliberately overbuilt the bottom end, meaning it could handle significantly more power than stock. Guys were making 150 horsepower with these engines and having them survive. Number 2, Honda CB754, 1969. Here's the big one, the engine that actually created the modern motorcycle industry. The Honda CB750's 736cc SOHC inline 4 didn't just transform motorcycling. It effectively ended the British motorcycle industry and established Japanese engineering dominance for the next 50 years. Let's set the scene. In 1968, It's 1968, and motorcycles are still basically 19th century technology. British bikes leak oil, vibrate, and break down regularly. American V-twins are better, but still crude. The entire industry stuck. Soichiro Honda asked a simple question: why can't motorcycles be as reliable as our cars? Honda had been building automobiles for years and knew how to make engines that started every time and ran 100,000 miles without major service. The CB754 arrived in 1969 like aliens had landed. A 736cc transverse inline-4 making 67 horsepower, overhead cam, electric start, front disc brake, an absolute first for production motorcycles. 5-speed transmission and an engine so smooth it made British twins feel like industrial equipment. But here's what really mattered. It worked. You turned the key, pressed a button, and it started. Every time. In any weather. In 1969, that was revolutionary. British bike owners were used to kickstarting their machines 20 times on cold mornings. The disc brake deserves... British bike owners were used to kickstarting their machines 20 times on cold mornings. The disc brake deserves special mention. Every other production motorcycle in 1969 used drum brakes. The CB750's hydraulic disc brake was borrowed from Honda's automotive division, providing stop and power British manufacturers couldn't match. Dick Mann won the Daytona 200 in 1970 on a CB750, legitimizing the four-stroke format and basically writing the obituary for British motorcycles. Quick pause here. If you're getting value from this video, hit that like button. It genuinely helps other writers find this content. I read every comment too, so if you think I got something wrong or you got a story about wrenching on one of these engines, drop it below. It's probably a good time for me to stop and say, hey, I'm Mike. I'm a voiceover artist. You're here at work with me, so you should do all those things too with the subscribe and the like and drop it in the comments below. Yep. Number 1. Suzuki Hayabusa GSX 1300R, 1999. And here we are at number 1. The Suzuki Hayabusa's 1299cc inline-4. How is a 1999 engine more influential than the CB750 or the BMW R32? The Hayabusa didn't just break records. It broke the entire gentleman's agreement between motorcycle manufacturers and forced governments worldwide. The Hayabusas didn't just break records. It broke the entire gentleman's agreement between motorcycle manufacturers and forced governments worldwide to reconsider what they'd allow on public roads. By the late 90s, the Japanese manufacturers had gotten comfortable. Superbikes were making 160 horsepower and topping out around 175 miles per hour. Meanwhile, European manufacturers like Ducati and BMW were claiming performance superiority. Suzuki needed something dramatic. What they built was genuinely shocking. The 1299cc inline-4 made 173 horsepower and would run a quarter mile in the high 9s. But the real story was the top speed, 194 miles per hour. verified. This wasn't a limited production exotic. This was a regular production motorcycle you could buy at any Suzuki dealer for $10,000. Ran out of air on that one. This was a regular production motorcycle you could buy at Suzuki. You could buy at any Suzuki. You could buy at any Suzuki dealer for $10,000. We'll cut that up in the edit, eh? Suzuki used a unique crankshaft design with gear-driven counterbalancers that made the big inline four surprisingly smooth. They developed fairings in a wind tunnel used for aircraft design, creating bodywork so dynamic that riders reported feeling like they were sitting in a bubble at high speed. Here's the controversial part. The Hayabusa was so fast that it triggered a panic. I remember all this. I would have been right around graduating high school-ish when these bikes started coming out. And I had some buddies and some dudes that I knew that did some stupid stuff on these things. But as far as I know, most of them lived through it. By the way, hi to everybody out there. Hi. Good to see you. We're reading about motorcycles. We're about to the end of this script, and then we're going to move back over to the edit audio-proof phase. Yeah. Brad says, what is the best way to create a demo reel as a beginner? I'm going to have to make you a video about that one, Brad, because that is a whole thing. The industry at large is going to tell you you have to have a professional demo, and you must pay thousands to have it made. And I say hundeshes on all that because I have my demo. I'm working full time. I'm not rich. I ain't booking Disney gigs, but I'm supporting my family with this job. And I didn't pay nobody thousands of dollars to make my demo reel for me. What I did, and I'll make it real quick and brief, is I took my body of work. And if you don't have a body of work yet, you create one. You make practice recordings. Pull scripts from whatever. Just make sure it's not copyright material that you can't use. And just record yourself. Splice it all together. And start sending that around. That's your demo. It's good. Now, there's a lot more that you could go into detail about it. And there's more things you could do. And you probably should do. But it doesn't have to be thousands of dollars. Hayabusa literally for it. Ooh. European governments threatened to ban high-performance motorcycles entirely. In response, manufacturers agreed to a voluntary limit of 186 miles per hour for all production bikes. That agreement holds to this day. The Hayabusa literally forced the industry to set speed limits on itself. So there you have it. 7 engines that fundamentally transformed motorcycling, from BMW's Boxer that invented the modern touring bike, to Suzuki's Hayabusa that went so fast it forced international speed agreements. These power plants didn't just push boundaries, they redrew the map entirely. The common thread? Each solved a real problem with an approach that seemed crazy till it worked. Kawasaki built a two-stroke triple that physics said should shake itself apart. Ducati eliminated valve springs when everyone else said they were essential. Honda made motorcycles reliable when the entire industry accepted that bikes were supposed to leak and break. If you're serious about understanding motorcycle engineering, subscribe to this channel. I'm promising detailed, researched content about the machines we actually care about. The engineering, the history, the controversies manufacturers don't advertise. Drop a comment telling me which engine you'd most want to own, or which one I ranked wrong. I love the debate. Ride safe, wrench smart, and I'll see you in the next one. Whoop, whoop. All right. Now let's move the blanket and figure out what mouse works for what computer. It says we disconnected and reconnected, so hopefully everything's still good. Man, those are tasty. All right, I think we're going to listen to tornadoes. And we're going to cut up motorcycle engines. I think that's what we're going to do. Is that the idea? I think so.
June 22nd, 2007 will end with foundation scraped bare. 7 will end with foundations. June 22nd, 2007 will end with foundations scraped bare, vehicles hurled like toys. Went the wrong way. Corrected the other way. Vehicles hurled like toys in a town bare. Vehicles hurled like toys. Went the wrong way. Scraped bare. Vehicles hurled.
Wait, is this all?
Oh, turns out this is me, and this has been me since I was like, could talk. 7 motorcycle engines changed every.
That's where it starts. So let's cut all this other crap out. We need to waste time cutting that up.
2007 will end with foundations scraped bare, vehicles hurled like toys, in a town stunned by what a small, tight vortex can do when it lingers over the same ground. That tornado will right it.
Hey, if you're new here, what I'm doing is I'm listening to this, the strongest tornado ever recorded in Canada. I'm listening to that. I've already cut it up, so I've cut out all the gaps and the breaths and most of the junk that's in there. While at the same time, I'm cutting up this track here. This is the motorcycle one that I just recorded. So I'm going in and cutting the stuff that you can obviously see needs to go. I say obviously. That's a very subjective thing to say in this particular situation. But I just go through and I find the crap that doesn't need to be there. This is where I clap to separate the sections for myself. So I just paste in some dead air, dead room noise. Basically, every one of these little slivers sounds like my quiet room. It's not just nothing, but it's my quiet room. If you put in nothing in there, sometimes you can hear the difference, as weird as that sounds. And then, yeah, we just cut. In this case, we're going to paste some more because I clapped. But we're just going to delete those chunks out of there. Cut it here, highlight it, delete it. Cut it here, highlight, delete. And we just keep going. Think of this, what's a way to describe this? We're still whittling with the big chisel. Does that make sense? Is that a term that makes any kind of sense with what I'm doing here? This is the rough work. This is the rough sculpting. So, we can go fast. We don't have to hit everything in super precision. And you got to keep in mind that we're dealing with little chunks of time here that are super tiny. So the difference between clicking here and clicking here, your ear's not going to hear a difference. So really when you get fast here is when you can develop the muscle memory, throw caution to the wind a little bit, and just kind of go. And the zoom in, zoom out that you see me constantly do is literally a way to just move forward. Because I'm not like scrolling to the side, right, to try to get moving forward. I click where I want it. I hit my little cut tool. I zoom in to make sure, right? And I'm cutting that out. I zoom back out, and now I can see the next gap down here, so I delete that, and I just leapfrog forward. So there's no scrolling side to side. I just use the zoom in and zoom out to just leap Spider-Man my way through. It's a Spider-Man. Web out. And I'm just kind of heading down the way there. Just cutting out all the crap. And I'm going to miss stuff that is crap, and I'm going to cut stuff out that isn't crap. But in Reaper, this is non-destructive editing. Everything is still there. So if I mess something up, it's super duper easy to fix. So that's kind of, for anybody that doesn't know, now you know that's what we're doing. It looks weird, and I'm thinking about putting some on-screen stuff right here next to me. And that blank area between this my face and the cartoon my face down there, putting words to like describe what I'm doing there. So let me know what you guys think of that. If it would make this screen more engaging. Like if you're surfing through YouTube and you stop here, is there something there that's going to make all of this make more sense? I don't know.
Bear, vehicles hurled like toys in 2007. Will end with foundation scraped bare, vehicles hurled like toys in a town stunned by what a small, tight vortex can do when it lingers over the same ground. That tornado will write itself into the record book when it lingers over the same ground. That tornado will write itself into the record books as the strongest tornado ever documented in Canada. A storm that hides its power in a quiet, deliberate gait.
Did any of that repeat? I think I
Vehicles hurled like toys
dozed
in a
off.
town stunned by what a small, tight vortex can do when it lingers over the same ground. That tornado will write itself into the record books as the strongest tornado ever documented in Canada. A storm that hides its power in a quiet, deliberate gait. Canada's meteorologists elevate this tornado to F5, the highest mark on the original Fujita damage scale, and the country will add a singular line to its weather history. The ingredients come together. Southern Manitoba wakes to a loaded atmosphere. The ingredients come together. Southern Manitoba wakes to a loaded atmosphere. A low-pressure system slides in from
Yeah? What's that? So, we've got some yard work happening right now. So a couple things could happen. One, I got to go out and take care of the yard. Two, I might lose internet. So this could be a goodbye. If it is, I'm sorry. I don't have another screen to go to because I haven't set it up on my new system yet. So I'll just leave it here and I'll be back. Brad, the floor is yours.